one of the quirks about the human mind is that we prefer to have a wide variety of inputs versus the same input over and over and over again.
Yeah, sure.
Which is a concept called novelty. Okay? So if you pay attention to something that's boring for a long period of time, you're probably not going to be very happy, and you're probably going to want to shift your attention to something else.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? And this is actually, I love psychology because they do experiments with all of this stuff all the time. There was actually a psychologist, his name was Norman Mackworth, in it was World War II, I believe.
Okay.
Who was doing all sorts of tests on what was called vigilance. Okay, so imagine, there's a person who is who's responsible for sitting in front of a radar and looking at this little spinning thing go around over and over and over again, and nothing's really happening.
Yeah.
And you have your
Hard
planes.
To stay.
Yeah, and so it was a big question of how long can people look at something that doesn't change, particularly when it does change, that signal may be of life or death importance,
right?
And would need to be responded to very quickly. And so, Mackworth, being the ingenious person that he was, created this clock. Called it the Mackworth clock.
All right.
And the clock operated like a normal clock with a second hand. And it would keep going, and then at random intervals, instead of ticking 1 second, it would tick 2 seconds. And they would actually put people in front of this clock, and they would say, write down or signal when the clock skips a second. Okay, so it goes 2 seconds instead of 1. So very subtle shift in something that is very predictable. How do people do? And they weren't testing, they were testing accuracy, but they were testing how long would it take before accuracy really declined.
Oh, interesting.
Okay, so a very ingenious way to test this. And what they found is, even for highly motivated individuals who would be rewarded very much for doing well on this, the maximum amount of attention that they could sustain well is about 10 minutes.
I can totally see that.
And half an hour was the absolute maximum.
Yeah, it sounds horrible.
People would just pass out. I don't know what. But their mind would shift to something else very quickly. And so having a new range of sensory inputs all the time is really important if you want to be able to keep people's attention. And this is another thing they talk about in Brain Rules by John Medina. Ideally, every 10 minutes, there should be something new, something fresh, something interesting. Which is why, in this course, none of our videos are over 10 minutes long. That's on purpose. That's by design.
We don't want to bore you.
We don't want to bore you. We want to keep your attention. We want you to benefit from all of this stuff. And so we're keeping things short and punchy, and we're trying to be as exciting as possible. And, it's because if you want to engage people's attention and keep it, you have to keep giving them something new over and over and over again. Which is why, authors who write, people started to get bored with John Grisham, because every time John Grisham wrote a book, it was the same book with different names in a slightly different place. And it was basically the same thing. People started to get bored. So, giving people something new, coming out with something new, having news, all of those things are really important if you want to engage and sustain people's attention, because the moment you get boring is the moment that people stop paying attention to you and start paying attention to something else.
Even working with yourself, if it's something really simple, like walking to work a different way, it's amazing, the creative process that will start if you just get yourself kind of going in a different way. It's weird.
Right.
But it's cool.
Novelty is extremely important. And the more new things that you can do more often, the more you can sustain your attention, and the more you can sustain the attention of the people around you.